Richard Sears was a 22-year-old train station agent working in Minnesota in 1886. He'd moved across the state after his father's death and after the loss of the family fortune. He moved to find a new opportunity, and it came to him one day in the form of a wristwatch. Well, actually a lot of wristwatches. A local jeweler refused a shipment of gold watches and offered them to Sears for $12 each. He, in turn, sold them to other agents for $14, pocketing a profit of $2 per watch. 6 months later, Sears had made $5,000 and quit his railroad job. A year later, he took his new business to Chicago and teamed up with Alva Roebuck, a watch repairman. By 1893, they'd formed Sears, Roebuck and Company and launched a mail-order catalog. The Sears catalog offered options to the rural folks across America, and in the late 19th century, that was just about 2/3 of Americans. General stores had a limited selection, and they were marked up, but the catalog had over 500 pages of merchandise at a lower cost and usually included free delivery. Sears took advantage of the new infrastructure, like the railroads, that could reach even remote areas. It was called the Book of Bargains, and later called the Great Price Maker. The items ranged from shoes and clothing to furniture, china, wagons, bicycles, fishing tackle, guns, and musical instruments. They built a massive distribution center in Chicago with 3 million square feet of floor space. Sears sold the company to Julius Rosenwald, a Chicago clothing manufacturer, in 1895, but he remained on as president. Roebuck retired. The company went public in 1906 in order to secure more capital, and the expansion of Sears continued. Sears was a master at identifying needs and finding niche markets. For example, the building boom in the first half of the 20th century. There were new materials and new construction methods, and Sears could mass-produce prefabricated home building kits on the cheap. With just $450, customers could purchase a small bungalow. It came with detailed instructions and all of the building materials needed. Many think HGTV launched the DIY fad a few years back. It was actually Sears with the build-your-own-house kit. Sears sold nearly 75,000 of these prefab kits between 1908 and 1940. In fact, many of these homes are still in use today because of their practical design and the high quality of materials that they used. Because of their successful catalog, Sears doubled down on Christmas. They produced their first Christmas wish book catalog in 1933. It contained toys and other holiday items. Arriving in the early fall, this catalog became a cultural phenomenon, an American tradition that ushered in the Christmas season all across the country. Sears opened their first brick-and-mortar store in Chicago in 1925. Along with the growing popularity of the automobile, more and more people were moving to the cities, creating a demand for easy access versus catalog mail orders. They promoted durability and practicality of their products. They were a name that people could trust for quality. Sears also, unlike many department stores of the day, sold tools and hardware, attracting men inside. By 1929, Sears had over 300 department stores. Sears's bread and butter were staple items like socks, underwear, sheets, and towels. Because of this, they survived and even thrived during the Great Depression. Sears was strong in branding. They first put the Kenmore name on a sewing machine in 1913. They began selling Kenmore washing machines in 1927 and added Kenmore vacuums to the mix in 1932. This ushered in many, many years of dominating the appliance market. In the 1970s, Sears expanded to include refrigerators, freezers, air conditioners, and Sears is credited with changing family dynamics with their labor-saving devices. Craftsman Tools was a brand exclusive to Sears, and they offered a lifetime guarantee on their products. First sold in 1927, the first customers were farmers. The brand later expanded to include lawnmowers and also power tools. Many don't know that Sears also owned Encyclopedia Britannica between 1920 and 1943. They sold them through their catalogs. Sears offered car insurance, Allstate, first as a mail-order car insurance in 1931, and then in sales booths in their stores. The name came from one of their products, the Allstate automobile tire. The Sears Tower, their new headquarters, opened in Chicago in 1973. With 100 stories, standing at 1,500 feet, it was the tallest building in the world for 25 years. Their size wasn't just in the building either. At the time, they were the largest retailer in the world, employing 350,000 people. And at its peak, Sears operated more than 3,000 stores. Sears also bought TV and radio stations under the call letters of WLS, which stood for World's Largest Store. In the 1980s, Sears introduced the Discover card. This was the first card to offer cash rewards based on how much consumers spent on the card. It was a hit. 20 million people had the card within 4 years of launching it. But the Sears giant began to falter in the 90s. It was the nation's largest retailer until Walmart passed it in 1991. Big box stores offered steep competition. As they tried to survive, they sold Discover and also Allstate. Kmart bought Sears in 2004. Revenue dried up as the thirst for online shopping began. The Craftsman brand was sold to Stanley Black & Decker in 2017, and Sears started selling appliances in a deal with Amazon. They ended up filing for Chapter 11 in 2018, and stores began to close. The last store in Chicago, the Woodfield Mall location, closed in November of 2021. In 2022, the remaining Sears auto stores ceased operations. As of this recording, the few Sears stores still in operation appear to be sadly on life support. The 130-year history of Sears mirrors the United States and her changes in shopping and consumer habits. Their catalogs, branding, and stores help to shape the landscape of Americana. Their practical and quality products made chores at home easier and more efficient. What began as a side hustle for Richard Sears, selling his watches, catapulted into a mainstay for millions of Americans in the 20th century. The hands of time, however, have slowed as Sears becomes increasingly more of a memory than a ticking timepiece in our culture. Thanks for watching Memory Mountain. If you enjoyed this video, please click to subscribe to our channel and hit that thumbs up button. Be sure to tap the notification bell so you'll be one of the first to know when we post our next story looking back over the landscape of Americana.